You want to know why humans are considered the most terrifying species in the known galaxy? The ancient Xerex elder clicked his mandibles in what passed for amusement among his kind. It's not their technology, their resilience, or even their adaptability, though those are frightening enough. No, it's their obsession with hitting things with other things. His audience, a young xenoanthropologist from the Centauri Academy, leaned forward with evident skepticism.
Hitting things? Surely you're oversimplifying, Elder Cathrax.
Am I?
Cathrax's compound eyes glittered with remembered terror.
Let me tell you about the Battle of Proxima Centauri, and how a human mining vessel armed with nothing but industrial equipment managed to defeat an entire Drachnid battlecruiser. The elder settled into his ceremonial rest pod, his iridescent carapace catching the light of the 3 moons overhead. The year was 2157 by human reckoning, and the Drachnid Empire was at the height of its expansion. They'd encountered dozens of species, all of whom had followed the same predictable pattern of technological advancement: energy weapons, force fields, quantum computing. But humans? He chittered. Humans were different. The mining vessel Thunderchild had been operating in the asteroid belt when the Drachnid cruiser appeared. Standard procedure for most species would have been immediate surrender. After all, what could a mining ship do against a warship equipped with plasma cannons and quantum shield arrays? The humans, Cathrax continued, his voice dropping to a reverent whisper, decided to get creative with their hammers. The Thunderchild's captain, Sarah Chen, had taken one look at the Drachnid demand for surrender and responded with what would become one of the most famous transmissions in galactic history. Sorry, mate, but we've got a quota to meet. Tell you what, you can have all the ore we collect today, assuming your ship's still intact enough to carry it. What followed was nothing short of revolutionary in the annals of space warfare. The Thunderchild, using its industrial mining equipment, specifically its massive hydraulic hammers designed for breaking up asteroids, proceeded to demonstrate why humans had survived countless millennia of evolution through their mastery of percussion-based problem-solving. You see, Cathrax explained, gesturing with his upper appendages, the Drachnids had developed their entire defense system around energy weapons. Their shields could deflect plasma bolts, laser beams, even quantum torpedoes. But they had never encountered a species whose first instinct when faced with an advanced alien warship was to hit it really, really hard with a very big hammer. The mining vessel's first strike caught the Drachnid cruiser completely off guard. The industrial hammer, normally used for breaking up platinum-rich asteroids, smashed into the warship's hull with the kind of force usually reserved for geological events. The quantum shields, calibrated for energy weapons, did absolutely nothing to stop several thousand tons of kinetic energy delivered via what was, essentially, a very sophisticated sledgehammer. The Drachnids were baffled, Cathrax continued, clearly enjoying the xenoanthropologist's wide-eyed attention. Their tactical computers couldn't even process what was happening. In their entire military history, no species had ever attempted to defeat a starship by hitting it with mining equipment. It simply wasn't done. But the humans weren't finished. Having discovered that their hammers were effective, they proceeded to demonstrate another uniquely human trait: the ability to turn nearly anything into a hammer if you try hard enough. They began using pieces of the asteroids they'd been mining as improvised projectiles, Cathrax recalled. The Drachnid captain was sending increasingly panicked messages to his superiors, trying to explain how his advanced warship was being systematically demolished by what he described as primitive apes with hammers. The xenoanthropologist's recording device whirred quietly as she asked, "Surely the Drachnids attempted to fight back?" "Oh, they tried," Cathrax confirmed. "They launched their fighters, fired their plasma cannons, deployed their boarding parties. But you see, they made the crucial mistake of getting close enough for the humans to hit them. And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's finding new and innovative ways to hit things that annoy them." The Thunderchild's crew, displaying what would later be recognized as textbook human ingenuity, had modified their ore processing equipment into makeshift weapons. They turned industrial sorting machines into high-velocity debris launchers, repurposed magnetic ore separators into improvised railguns, and, in what would become the stuff of legend, used their emergency hull repair foam to temporarily stick Drachnid boarding parties to the corridors, making them remarkably easy targets for crew members armed with maintenance hammers. "The turning point," Cathrax said, his voice taking on an almost musical quality, "came when Captain Chen realized that the Drachnid ship's quantum shields had a refresh rate, a very brief moment between energy pulses where the shield was essentially non-existent.
Most species would have needed incredibly sophisticated timing equipment to exploit this weakness. The humans? They just kept hitting it until they got lucky. The Thunder Child's final attack involved using its primary asteroid crusher, a massive hydraulic press designed to compact ore, to quite literally squeeze the Drachnid ship's command module until it popped like what Captain Chen would later describe in her report as a space grape. The aftermath of this battle changed galactic military doctrine forever, Cathrax declared.
The Drachnid Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, was forced to completely redesign their defensive systems to account for what they termed primitive kinetic attacks. But more importantly, it taught everyone a valuable lesson about humans. The xenoanthropologist, completely enthralled, prompted. And what lesson was that? That humans are the only known species who, when confronted with increasingly advanced technology, will still occasionally decide that the best solution is to hit it with a bigger hammer. Cathrax's mandibles clicked in what might have been admiration or fear. It was hard to tell. Do you know what they did after that battle? They started intentionally designing warships with built-in hammers. They called them kinetic strike vessels, but everyone knew what they really were. Hammers with engines attached. The Elder shifted in his rest pod, his tone becoming more serious. But here's the truly terrifying part. That incident with the mining vessel? That wasn't even humans at their most creative with hitting things. Wait until I tell you about the time a human recreational vessel, what they call a yacht, defeated a quantum hive mind by turning their entire ship into what they called a really big golf club. The xenoanthropologist's recording device nearly slipped from her grasp. They turned their ship into a golf club? Indeed. Humans have this recreational activity called golf, which is, essentially, hitting a small object with a specially designed hammer until it goes into a hole. Cathrax's mandibles twitched. When you think about it, much of human recreation involves hitting things with other things. Baseball, cricket, tennis, even their music often involves hitting things rhythmically. He leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the starlight. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about humans isn't just their proficiency with hammer-based solutions. It's their ability to inspire other species to adopt their methods. Do you know that after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, several species actually began incorporating physical impact weapons into their arsenal? The arachnids of Tau Ceti even developed what they called a space mallet. The xenoanthropologist's recording device was now filled with hours of conversation, but she had one final question. Elder Cathrax, in your opinion, what makes humans so effective with these primitive methods? The Elder was quiet for a moment, considering. I believe it's because humans understand something that most species forget in their rush to develop more advanced technology. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution, and sometimes that solution is hitting something very hard with a very big hammer. He settled back in his rest pod. The galaxy has learned to respect humans not because they're the most advanced, or the strongest, or even the smartest. We respect them because they remind us that no matter how sophisticated our technology becomes, there will always be problems that can be solved by applying sufficient force at the right point. They are the gods of the Warhammer not because they invented it, but because they never forgot its value. The xenoanthropologist nodded, finally understanding. So when humans say, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's not a limitation, Cathrax finished. That's a promise. As if to punctuate his point, a shooting star streaked across the triple moon sky, though both the Elder and his guest knew it was more likely a human ship somewhere up there, probably solving a complex problem with what they would invariably describe as percussive maintenance. Cathrax's final words on the matter would later become required reading in xenoanthropology courses across the galaxy. In the end, the universe is just a very large nail, and humanity is the hammer that shapes it, sometimes literally. The xenoanthropologist left that night with a newfound appreciation for human innovation, and a mental note to never, ever challenge a human to any sport involving hitting things. After all, they had several million years of practice. But that's not even the most remarkable story about human ingenuity with hammers, Cathrax continued, noting his guest's rapt attention. Have you heard about the diplomatic incident of 2184? The xenoanthropologist shook her head, adjusting her recording device. I don't believe that's in any of our official records. Ah. Cathrax's mandibles clicked in what might have been a suppressed laugh. That's because both parties involved agreed it was better left unofficial.
You see, it all started during the first human delegation to the Harmonious Collective of the Perseus Arm. The Harmonious Collective, Krathos explained, was known throughout the galaxy for their sophisticated culture and their complete devotion to nonviolence. They had evolved beyond physical combat millennia ago, developing instead a complex system of philosophical debates and psychic demonstrations to resolve conflicts. The humans, being humans, sent a delegation that included not just diplomats, but also a cultural exchange team of craftspeople. Krathos paused meaningfully. Specifically, they sent a master blacksmith as part of their cultural heritage presentation. The xenoanthropologist's eyes widened. They didn't... Oh, but they did. Ambassador Helena Martinez brought master craftsman James Chen, yes, related to that Captain Chen, to demonstrate the ancient earth art of forging metal. The collective's representatives were initially fascinated by what they considered a charming primitive ritual. The demonstration was proceeding smoothly until a rogue faction of the collective, opposed to any contact with violent species, attempted to sabotage the diplomatic mission. They used their advanced psychic abilities to create illusions and confusion, hoping to make the humans embarrass themselves and prove their barbaric nature. What they failed to consider, Krathos said, his voice carrying a note of what might have been glee, was that humans had developed their entire civilization around the concept of solving problems by hitting them precisely with specialized tools. Master Chen, upon realizing that the illusions couldn't affect his hammer or anvil, being inanimate objects, simply continued his demonstration. The resulting scene became legendary in diplomatic circles. While the rogue psychics attempted to create ever more elaborate illusions, the human blacksmith calmly continued forging, the rhythmic ringing of his hammer cutting through the psychic chaos like a beacon of reality. The really clever part, Krathos noted, was what Ambassador Martinez did next. She explained to the collective's leadership that the hammer and anvil represented humanity's philosophy of transformation through controlled force, that every strike was not an act of destruction, but of creation. The xenoanthropologist leaned forward. How did the collective respond? They were fascinated, particularly when Master Chen began explaining the metaphysical principles behind forging. How the metal must be heated until it's ready to change. How each strike must be precisely controlled. How the hammer and anvil work together to create something new. He effectively translated thousands of years of human metallurgy into terms that resonated with the collective's philosophical worldview. The situation reached its climax when the rogue faction, frustrated by their failure to disrupt the demonstration, attempted to directly interfere with the forging process. This proved to be a critical mistake. You see, Krathos explained, they didn't understand that humans had spent millennia developing incredibly precise control over their hammers. When the rogues tried to psychically disturb Master Chen's work, he adjusted his technique in real time, incorporating the vibrations and disturbances into his forging pattern. The result was a blade with an unusual rippling pattern that the collective's scientists spent years trying to replicate. The xenoanthropologist made a note. So the humans turned an attempted diplomatic sabotage into a masterclass on adaptive problem-solving and philosophical transformation. Yes. Krathos's mandibles clicked rapidly in amusement. The collective was so impressed that they established an entire school dedicated to studying what they called the Way of the Hammer. They saw it as a perfect metaphor for their own beliefs about transformation and growth. But surely, the xenoanthropologist interjected, this isn't the only instance of humans using their percussive proclivities in diplomacy. Krathos's compound eyes glittered. Oh, there are many more stories. Like the time a human construction worker prevented an interstellar war by challenging both sides to a game of whack-a-mole. Or when humanity's first contact with the silicon consciousness was established through Morse code tapped out with a geologist's rock hammer. The elder settled more comfortably into his rest pod. But perhaps we should save those tales for another night. After all, as humans say, you shouldn't use all your hammers at once. The xenoanthropologist paused her recording device. I don't think that's actually a human saying. No, Krathos admitted, but it should be. The xenoanthropologist was about to pack up her recording equipment when Krathos raised one of his upper appendages. Before you leave, there's one more tale you should hear, perhaps the most important one of all. She settled back into her observation posture, intrigued. More important than the Battle of Proxima Centauri? Far more significant, Krathos confirmed. This is the story of how humanity's obsession with percussive solutions quite literally saved the galaxy from quantum collapse. The incident occurred in 2197, during what scientists had dubbed the Schrödinger crisis. A series of experiments conducted by the Quantum Dominion, a civilization of energy beings who existed simultaneously across multiple quantum states, had inadvertently begun to destabilize the fundamental forces holding our reality together. The greatest minds in the galaxy were summoned, Krathos recalled.
The Silicon Consciousness brought their quantum computers. The Harmonious Collective sent their most accomplished psychic theorists. The Drachnids, still somewhat bitter about the Proxima Centauri incident, contributed their most advanced probability engines. And humanity sent a maintenance engineer from a deep space mining facility. The xenoanthropologist's recording device whirred as she leaned forward.
Surely not just any maintenance engineer.
Her name was Dr. Maria Rodriguez Chen. Yes, from that same Chen family. They do get around.
Krathos's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. When she arrived at the emergency summit carrying nothing but her toolkit and what she called her lucky hammer, the other delegates were skeptical. The situation was dire. The quantum destabilization was spreading, causing localized reality failures across multiple star systems. The assembled scientists presented their theories, each more complex than the last, involving 11-dimensional mathematics and theoretical constructs that existed beyond conventional space-time.
Dr. Rodriguez Chen listened to all of this while absently tapping her hammer against her palm. Krathos continued.
When it was her turn to speak, she asked only one question. Have you tried hitting it? The silence that followed was described by witnesses as deafening enough to be heard in vacuum. The Quantum Dominion representatives, manifesting as shimmering clouds of probability, were particularly offended by the suggestion.
But you see,
Krathos explained, his voice taking on a scholarly tone. Dr. Rodriguez Chen had spent 20 years maintaining quantum drive cores in deep space. She had developed what she called the percussive resonance theory of quantum alignment, though her colleagues simply called it the good luck tap. Her theory was remarkably straightforward. Quantum systems, when observed, collapse into definite states. Traditional science focused on observation through sophisticated sensors and measurement devices.
But Rodriguez Chen had noticed that sometimes, a well-placed tap with a hammer could accomplish the same thing, forcing quantum uncertainty into classical certainty through controlled mechanical interaction. The other scientists were dismissive at first, Krathos said, until she demonstrated her technique on a small scale. Using her lucky hammer, which it turned out was precisely calibrated and contained extremely sensitive quantum harmonic resonators, she literally tapped a quantum unstable region back into normal space. The xenoanthropologist's appendages twitched in disbelief.
That shouldn't be possible. That's exactly what the Quantum Dominion said, Krathos agreed. But they couldn't argue with the results. The real challenge was scaling up the solution to address the galactic-level crisis. This led to what would become known as the Great Percussion, humanity's most ambitious engineering project to date. They constructed massive space-based tuning forks, effectively turning entire star systems into resonating chambers. The plan was to create a synchronized network of quantum harmonic impacts that would realign the destabilized regions of space. The other species contributed their technologies, of course, Krathos noted. The Silicon Consciousness provided the computational power needed to calculate the precise timing. The Harmonious Collective's psychics helped coordinate the simultaneous strikes across vast distances. Even the Drachnids participated, their ships helping to position the enormous tuning forks. And it worked? The xenoanthropologist asked, though she knew the answer. After all, the galaxy still existed. It did more than work, Krathos said. The synchronized quantum percussion not only stabilized the failing regions of space-time, but also created what humans now call quantum harmony, a state of enhanced stability that actually improved faster-than-light travel efficiency by 27%. He shifted in his rest pod, his carapace reflecting the starlight. But the real breakthrough came afterward. The Quantum Dominion, those beings of pure energy and probability, were so impressed by the elegant brutality of the solution that they began incorporating physical percussion into their own experiments. They developed what they called quantum hammers, tools that could strike across multiple realities simultaneously. So humanity's influence spread even to beings of pure energy? The xenoanthropologist's recording device was running low on memory, but this was too important to miss. Indeed, there's an old human saying,
When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Most species took this as a warning about limited thinking. Humans took it as a challenge to develop better hammers. Cathrax's compound eyes glimmered with amusement. The Quantum Dominion now has an entire division dedicated to what they call probability percussion. He raised himself slightly, adopting what the xenoanthropologist recognized as a formal posture. And that, young scholar, is why humans are truly the gods of Warhammer. Not because they solve every problem with brute force, but because they understood something fundamental about the universe that the rest of us had forgotten. Sometimes, the most elegant solution is also the simplest. Sometimes, you just need to hit it right. The xenoanthropologist finally powered down her recording device. Thank you, Elder Cathrax. This will revolutionize our understanding of human innovation. Just remember, Cathrax added as she prepared to leave. If you ever find yourself facing an impossible problem, ask yourself, what would a human hit it with? He clicked his mandibles one final time. The answer might surprise you. As the xenoanthropologist made her way back to her research vessel, she couldn't help but notice the small hammer mounted on the wall of her ship's engine room. Standard equipment on all modern vessels, she'd been told, though she'd never understood why until now. She found herself wondering what other problems in the universe might be solved with a well-placed tap. After all, in a universe of infinite complexity, sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. And sometimes, those solutions involve hitting things with other things until they work properly. That's the human way. The triple moons had begun their descent toward the horizon, but Cathrax seemed energized rather than fatigued. There is one final story you should know, he said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. The tale of how humanity's influence fundamentally altered the course of galactic evolution itself. The xenoanthropologist checked her backup recording device. You mean beyond the quantum harmonics? Far beyond, Cathrax confirmed. This story begins in the year 2235, when humanity's propensity for percussive solutions intersected with the greatest mystery in the galaxy, the disappearance of the precursors. The precursors, as every xenoanthropology student knew, were the first sapient species to achieve interstellar travel. They had vanished mysteriously at the height of their civilization, leaving behind only their automated defense systems and encrypted databases scattered across thousands of worlds. For millennia, Cathrax continued, every spacefaring species had attempted to decrypt the precursor databases. The Silicon Consciousness devoted entire processing clusters to the task. The Quantum Dominion tried to brute force the encryption through parallel universe computation. The Harmonious Collective's most powerful psychics attempted to divine the knowledge directly from the quantum substrate of space-time itself. He paused for effect, his compound eyes reflecting the starlight. And then, in 2235, a human archaeological expedition led by Dr. Sophia Chen Martinez. Another Chen? The xenoanthropologist interrupted, unable to help herself. Indeed. The family has a particular talent for being in the right place at the wrong time, Cathrax acknowledged. Dr. Chen Martinez was examining a precursor installation on what humans had named Epsilon Eridani 4, when she made what she would later describe in her report as a fortunate fumble. The incident occurred during a routine survey. Dr. Chen Martinez, carrying her standard-issue archaeologist's hammer, which, following the quantum conundrum, had been upgraded to include quantum harmonic sensors, accidentally dropped it onto a precursor control surface. The impact, Cathrax explained, his mandibles quivering with barely suppressed mirth, created a very specific resonance pattern. This pattern, as it turned out, matched the base encryption key of all precursor technology, a key that was literally encoded in the fundamental vibrations of the universe itself. The xenoanthropologist's appendages twitched in disbelief. Are you suggesting that the precursors based their entire technological foundation on the mathematics of percussion? Yes. Cathrax's voice carried a note of profound amusement. Their civilization had evolved from a species that communicated through rhythmic tapping. Their computing systems, their propulsion technology, even their consciousness transfer networks, all operated on principles of harmonic resonance. The discovery revolutionized the field of archaeology overnight. Human expeditions, now equipped with precisely calibrated resonance hammers, began decoding precursor installations across the galaxy. Each strike revealed new secrets, new technologies, new understanding of the universe's fundamental nature. But the true breakthrough, Cathrax continued, came when Dr. Chen Martinez's team discovered the purpose of the precursor defense systems. They weren't meant to keep other species out, they were meant to keep something in.
The xenoanthropologist's recording device whirred as she leaned forward. What were they containing?
The discordance, Cathrax said solemnly. A quantum entity that consumed harmonic patterns, reducing ordered systems to chaos. The precursors had sacrificed their entire civilization to imprison it, encoding the keys to their technology in the very barriers that held it at bay. The revelation came just in time.
The discordance had begun to wake, its influence already manifesting in subtle disturbances across space-time. The galaxy faced a threat that even the combined might of all known civilizations seemed insufficient to counter. And then, Cathrax said, humanity did what humanity does best. They proposed hitting it with something. Specifically, they proposed hitting it with everything. Operation Cosmic Percussion, as it came to be known, was the single largest coordinated effort in galactic history. Every spacefaring species contributed their understanding of harmonic science. The quantum dominion's probability hammers, the silicon consciousness's computational rhythm engines, the harmonious collective's psychic resonators, all synchronized with humanity's ever-evolving hammer technology. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity, Cathrax explained. Using precursor technology, they would create a galaxy-wide resonance pattern, a single, perfect note struck across every star system simultaneously. The discordance, which fed on disharmony, would be unable to maintain its coherence in the face of such perfect synchronization. The xenoanthropologist's appendages trembled slightly. Did it work?
Better than anyone expected, Cathrax confirmed. The combined resonance not only banished the discordance, it also completed the precursor's final project. Their consciousness transfer network, dormant for millennia, activated across the galaxy. The precursors hadn't disappeared. They had uploaded themselves into the quantum substrate of reality itself, waiting for the day when the galaxy's species would learn to work in harmony. He shifted in his rest pod, his carapace catching the last rays of the setting moons. And now, thanks to humanity's unique perspective on problem-solving, we have access to the combined knowledge of both the precursors and every modern civilization, all because someone thought to hit an ancient artifact with a hammer. The xenoanthropologist sat in stunned silence for a moment. So when humans say percussion maintenance, they're actually practicing one of the most sophisticated scientific principles in the known universe, Cathrax finished. Though I suspect they'll never stop finding it amusing that they saved the galaxy by hitting things with other things. He raised himself to his full height, adopting the formal posture of an elder concluding a teaching. And that, young scholar, is the true legacy of humanity's relationship with the hammer. Not just as a tool of war or construction or quantum manipulation, but as a symbol of how the simplest solutions can sometimes unlock the greatest mysteries. The xenoanthropologist finally powered down her recording devices, her mind racing with the implications. Thank you, Elder Cathrax. This will revolutionize our understanding of, well, everything. Just remember, Cathrax added as she prepared to leave. The next time someone dismisses a human solution as too simple or primitive, ask them this. In a universe built on harmonic resonance, who better to trust than the species that never forgot the power of a well-placed strike? As the xenoanthropologist made her way back through the starlit night, she found herself paying attention to the rhythms around her. The subtle vibrations of her ship's engines, the quantum harmonics of the navigation systems, even the beating of her own hearts. Everything, she realized, was connected through patterns of percussion, waves of impact rippling through the fabric of reality itself.
And somewhere out there, humanity was probably already figuring out new ways to hit things with other things, unknowingly carrying on the legacy of the precursors, while adding their own unique percussion to the cosmic symphony.
That's not just the human way, it's the way of the universe itself. Dawn was beginning to paint the horizon in shades of amber and violet, when Cathrax shifted into what the xenoanthropologist recognized as the posture of concluding wisdom. However, instead of bidding her farewell, he surprised her with an observation. You realize, of course, that everything I've told you tonight is merely prelude to what happened next, the elder said, his compound eyes reflecting the emerging daylight. The xenoanthropologist, who had been preparing to depart, settled back into her observation stance. There's more? Indeed. The discovery of the precursor's harmonic nature and humanity's role in unlocking it led to what historians now call the resonant revolution. Cathrax's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. It changed everything we thought we knew about technological advancement. In the decades following Operation Cosmic Percussion, humanity's influence on galactic development took an unexpected turn.
Rather than continuing to advance along conventional technological paths, civilization began to explore what humans termed harmonic engineering, a fusion of precursor principles with humanity's practical approach to percussion-based problem-solving. The first breakthrough came from, unsurprisingly, another member of the Chen family. Krathos continued.
Dr. Marcus Chen Rodriguez, a quantum harmonics specialist, discovered that the precursor's consciousness transfer network could be accessed through what he called rhythmic meditation. The technique was deceptively simple. Using quantum-calibrated hammers, practitioners could tap into the underlying harmonic structure of reality itself. This allowed direct communication with the uploaded consciousness of the precursors, but with a distinctly human twist. The precursors, it turned out, had a magnificent sense of humor about the whole thing, Krathos explained. They found it endlessly amusing that after millions of years of sophisticated encryption, the key to their legacy turned out to be, essentially, cosmic Morse code, delivered via hammer. The xenoanthropologist's recording device hummed as she processed this information. How did this discovery affect galactic society? Profoundly, Krathos responded. The Silicon consciousness began incorporating percussion processors into their quantum computers. The harmonious collective developed a new school of philosophical thought based on rhythmic resonance. Even the Drachnids, still somewhat embarrassed about the Proxima Centauri incident, created a new class of warships designed around harmonic principles. But the most significant change came in the form of what humans called the Universal Resonance Network. Using precisely calibrated impact points across multiple star systems, they created a galaxy-wide communication system based entirely on harmonic transmission. Imagine, Krathos said, his voice taking on a tone of wonder, being able to send messages across thousands of light years simply by hitting the right spot with the right force at the right time. The humans called it quantum percussion messaging, though most species simply referred to it as hammer mail. The xenoanthropologist couldn't suppress a chirp of amusement at the terminology. And this system is still in use? Oh yes. In fact, you've been using it throughout our conversation. Krathos gestured to her recording device. Those quantum harmonic sensors? They're basically sophisticated hammers, tapping into the resonance network to store and transmit data. The implications were staggering. Humanity's seemingly primitive solution had evolved into the foundation of modern galactic civilization. Every spaceship, every communication device, every piece of advanced technology now incorporated some form of harmonic percussion technology.
But perhaps the most remarkable development, Krathos continued, was the emergence of what humans call percussion prediction. He paused, allowing the concept to settle.
By analyzing the harmonic patterns of reality itself, they discovered they could anticipate future events based on their resonant signatures. The xenoanthropologist's appendages twitched in surprise. They created a form of precognition through percussion? Not exactly, Krathos clarified. Rather, they found that certain harmonic patterns tend to precede certain types of events. The humans, with their characteristic practical approach, developed a system they called temporal hammering, literally using precisely calibrated strikes to probe the fabric of space-time for these patterns. This led to the establishment of the Galactic Harmonic Council, a body dedicated to monitoring and maintaining the resonant stability of known space. Representatives from every spacefaring species worked together, combining their unique perspectives on harmonic science with humanity's practical expertise in hitting things. The humans naturally took to this new role with enthusiasm, Krathos noted. They developed specialized tools for every conceivable application of percussion-based technology. The joke in diplomatic circles became that you could always identify a human installation by the variety of hammers mounted on the walls. But the true testament to humanity's influence came during the first harmonic convergence, an event that occurred exactly 50 years after Operation Cosmic Percussion. The combined consciousness of the precursors, speaking through the resonance network, delivered a message that would be remembered for generations. We seeded the galaxy with our technology, hoping that those who followed would understand the fundamental truth of existence, that the universe itself is a song of impact and resonance. Humanity, in their delightfully straightforward way, not only grasped this truth but embraced it with the enthusiasm we never expected. They took our sophisticated harmonics and reminded us of the joy of simply hitting things until they work. Krathos's mandibles clicked in what might have been nostalgia. The precursors actually added a postscript to that message, which has become something of a motto for the Galactic Harmonic Council. In the end, the sophistication of a solution matters less than its effectiveness. Sometimes the most elegant answer is simply knowing exactly what to hit, how hard to hit it, and when to hit it again. The xenoanthropologist sat in contemplative silence as the first sun crested the horizon. So humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization was teaching us all that complexity isn't always the answer. Krathos finished.
That sometimes the most advanced solution is also the most basic. That in a universe of infinite possibilities, there's still room for the simple satisfaction of solving a problem by hitting it correctly. He raised himself to his full height, his carapace now gleaming in the morning light. And that, young scholar, is why humans aren't just the gods of Warhammer. They're the architects of a new age of galactic development, an age where the boundaries between primitive and advanced, simple and complex, have been dissolved by the steady rhythm of progress. The xenoanthropologist gathered her equipment, her mind racing with the implications of everything she had learned.
Thank you, Elder Krathos. This will change our understanding of not just human innovation, but the very nature of technological advancement itself. Just remember, Krathos called after her as she prepared to leave. The next time you encounter a problem that seems impossibly complex, ask yourself, what would a human hit it with? His mandibles clicked one final time. The answer might just change the universe. As she made her way back to her ship under the light of the rising suns, the xenoanthropologist found herself paying attention to the rhythms around her in a new way. The hum of her ship's engines, the pulse of the quantum harmonics, the subtle vibrations of the universe itself, all of it connected through the simple, profound wisdom that humanity had never forgotten. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. And sometimes that solution involves hitting things with other things until the universe itself sings in harmony. That's not just the human way. It's the way the universe was meant to be understood. The end.